Alright, I have a couple more examples to give and some more Feynman.
Years old.
When you're thinking about something you don't understand, you have a terrible, uncomfortable feeling called confusion. It's a very difficult and unhappy business. And so most of the time you're rather unhappy, actually, with this confusion. You can't penetrate this thing. Now, the confusion is because we're all some kind of apes that are kind of stupid, working against this, trying to figure out to put the two sticks together to reach the banana, and we can't quite make it, the idea. And I get that feeling all the time that I'm an ape trying to put the two sticks together. So I always feel stupid. Once in a while, though, the sticks go together on me, and I reach the banana.
People say to me, are you looking for the ultimate laws of physics?
I had a conversation about flying saucers some years ago with laymen.
Listen about uncertainty.
Because I'm scientific, I know all about flying saucers. So I said, I don't think there are flying saucers. So my antagonist said, is it impossible that there are flying saucers? Can you prove that it's impossible? I said, no, I can't prove it's impossible. It's just very unlikely. That, they say, you are very unscientific. If you can't prove it impossible, then how can you say it's likely, that it's unlikely? Well, that's the way, that is scientific. It is scientific only to say what's more likely and less likely, and not to be proving all the time possible and impossible. To define what I mean, I finally said to him, listen, I mean that from my knowledge of the world that I see around me, I think that it is much more likely that the reports of flying saucers are the result of the known irrational characteristics of terrestrial intelligence rather than the unknown rational efforts of extraterrestrial intelligence.
So, in terms of macroscopic examples of QM, for example, we have superconductance. Okay, everybody knows about superconductance, right? So that's a nice little example. Now that's possible by quantum mechanics. It's a good example too because we don't understand everything about superconductance. People are looking into it. How can we get it at low temperatures and things like this? But the explanation of how it works and what we understand so far is based on this wave nature of the electrons. That's how they can come to a point where they defy the traditional laws of electromagnetics, and there's no resistance in the wire when it flows. Okay. Now, traditional electromagnetics is a funny thing because it was the discovery and investigating into this that discovered what kind of a material reality the photon had, and it really led to quantum mechanics. So the hints of quantum mechanics starts to become apparent in even the traditional view of electromechanics. But there was a lot more just rules of thumb. It's like, hey, if you put current in a wire, the wire heats up. Let's figure out the equation for that. Oh, it's this kind of equation. Look, with quantum mechanics, it becomes zero at a point that we did not anticipate. Our equations are wrong. But quantum mechanics, on the other hand, explains both why it stops at that point and why it exists at the higher points. Why, friction turns into heat. That's a quantum mechanic. That's a quantum mechanic. That's quantum mechanical physics right there. Why friction turns into heat. All right. And the last thing I just want to say is, you guys love to say, and one person even said, specifically Jericho Movie in his video, that, its chemical processes aren't affected by quantum mechanics as randomness. And I mean, look, molecular biology happens on the quantum level. You're not one big sack of one living cell. You've got all these little tiny cells, and each of those cells exists at a level where it's very important that certain molecules have certain spectra. It's very important how electrons are shared between atoms. It's super important to everything that it does. Okay, it exists on this quantum scale, and that's a funny thing. One person tried to quote the quantum scale as the Planck scale. No, it's the scale at which these things undeniably have an effect. And then on the molecular scale, quantum mechanics is the only thing that explains how those things behave. So yeah, it has an effect, if it has an effect anywhere. So if you're admitting it has an effect, that's where. Okay. So anyway, There you go.